Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Um, mm, yeah, I hope these words meet you well in the winter that is upon us, in the dying away, the composting, the leaves falling and becoming mush, and our bodies kind of going in this cocoon process that happens so organically in this time and can feel very forceful in the energy of going underground and caving up in the warmth. So wherever you're at, I hope you're finding some nourishment, resource, and support in what you need. And I want to talk about something that feels really taboo to talk about. I have a lot of things I'm going to talk about on this channel, just so you know, that I haven't really gotten the opportunity to speak about because I'm going to be honest, there's been a lot of fear around what I've seen and what other people will think. And the interesting thing is that everything that I have seen, I had my own preconditioned ideas or notions around it that were just completely dismantled and broken. And I end up having to try to understand what spirit is meaning by what they're bringing across. Some of the concepts, not even concepts, it's like the downloads are so big that I know I'm not going to be able to piece it together in this lifetime. And I'm fine with that. But the things that do land, that do connect almost instantly, feel really important to bring up and to talk about. And I don't really care if people don't want to hear about it, or they like to live in a fantasy, or they'd like to live suspended in a different reality. That's fine. I'm willing to lose everyone because these things feel important to name and to just say the truth, like not the truth, a truth. And what's interesting is that when they show me these things, there's never one truth. There's always like a billions of truths, right? It's like all different energy going everywhere. It's like endless, like vast space. So again, I'm sharing a sliver of what is an entire universe of unknown. And also what I find most interesting in the way that it butts up against my own preconditioning programs, system, like all of this stuff, and it rattles it. And that to me is like the juicy stuff. That's exciting. That means that I'm on the growth edge of something and I don't know. And yay, like yay. And I'm not trying to make it work or fill it in with something. So that's all very like here right now. But I want to preface that because I'm going to get into things that are really intense, um, in other videos, and I'll have, a trigger warning and things in advance so you can not watch or just know what you're getting yourself into. But I feel like the way that they have delivered it through me is from so much love and so much just direct clarity. There is no drama around it. It just is. And one of those things has been this feeling of regret, this feeling of remorse, and this feeling of shame. Now, I'm going to say, me, Ash, Avatar Ash here, the puppet that is Ash, I mean that in all seriousness. I feel like there's lots of selves going on. It kind of, yeah, it's getting weirder and weirder the more I do this work. But my avatar has an idea that, well, because of what I've seen in Western spirituality, mostly white spirituality, is that you die and then everything goes away and then you are merged with the oneness. And yes, that is true and happens. And other things happen as well. All of it happens. All of it happens, right? And so, and I feel like a big part of my work in this work that I'm doing as a psychic medium is sitting with paradox and huge things all at once. Like nothing has to move for something else to have come in. It's like, how can you sit and be with all of this? That all of this is in the room and all of this is true. And it's like, what? Because the brain wants to dissect, it wants to know, it wants to pin down, it wants to analyze, it wants to sort, it wants to. And this work, I would not be able to do what I do or channel if whatever that part of my brain was like really hankering it. And I think because I'm someone who's not, I don't need to know. I'm not very smart. Like that's not a dig to myself. I'm very intelligent, I would say, emotionally intelligent, physically intelligent, and situationally, like survivally, very intelligent. Like from the womb, I've just been that way. I think that's part of also my skills in that I was gifted to be here in this time with. But when it comes to like academic or I am so lost. Like I try to talk to people who are academia and I'm just like, what? Like, if it's not based in the heart, I don't understand it. It's like literally a language that has no meaning to me. It means nothing. I don't understand it. So, in that way, I'm the perfect candidate to be a channeler, to be someone who can take information from such an emotional place, transmute it, transform it, make it into words we would intelligently understand, right, with our brains, and also make sense of things and piece them together. And yeah, so my brain, it wants to kind of still put things together, right? Even if I don't understand, it is trying to make sense of things. So in that way, and I've had several spirits come through in a reading where there was shame and regret and sadness. And at first, I mean, this didn't happen inside the reading, but I remember afterwards being like, wait a minute, I thought that you don't have feelings on the other side. Like, I thought you just don't feel, you're just like floating, right? And yes, that can be true, right? Also, depending upon which dimension you are in, right? What we've heard about is just the benevolent, loving flow of love, right? Just vibrating. You can't think. I've been there. I've actually been there. I, ever since I was little, I could travel to dimensions in my dream time. And the dimensions, I could differentiate between a dream and dimension. Dimensions felt so visceral that I would either cry in my sleep, wake up crying, or literally be like shaking for like a week. Like I was not okay. Like I felt that I had been somewhere else and now I was here. And one of those experiences was when my grandfather took me, he took me to where he was because I said, where are you? I don't understand. Where are you? I think I was 15, maybe 14, 15. I don't really remember, but, and I said, I just don't understand. You were here. I held your hand. I kissed your cheek and now you're gone. And so he gifted me, and I didn't know this at the time at all. I wasn't even into medium. I didn't know anything. I just was sort of a teenager. And he gifted me with going to this realm of unconditional love. And I remember him holding out his hand in this place, and it was really bright. And it was like when there's cloud cover and the sun is trying to go through, but there's so much cloud cover that it's just like really bright clouds everywhere. And you're just surrounded, like all you can see is clouds. It's kind of a trippy experience. And he said, I'll show you. And I was so terrified. Nothing about it felt scary, but it was so unknown that I just felt terrified. And then finally I said, okay. I like closed my eyes, took his hand. And then when I looked around inside this realm, I just was like, I just merged. I had no memory of my past. I had no memory of pain, of hurt. The only thing I knew was love. It's the only thing I knew. And when I tried to look at my hands, look at my body, I didn't exist in a body. I was just formless. I was just energy. And at first, I remember it freaked me out. My grandfather's energy came in and calmed me, and then I was fine. But I remember how wild of an experience that was, right? It was just like merged with love. And I sobbed in my sleep. I woke up, my whole pillow was soaked. I cried some more. I didn't understand what was happening. I didn't tell anyone for a very long time because I thought they would think I'm crazy or something. I was not crazy. And neither are you if you've had visions or visitations like this. So that was an interesting thing. And if we can feel love without a body, there are other things we can feel from our consciousness, right? Not in the same way we would feel them with a body and a heart and a brain, right? Different. But the energy is still there. And what is energy? Energy is happening right now. It's all these little pixels on the screen you can see moving about. It's all the things zipping through the air that some of us can see on a regular basis. There's energy, right? Energy is vibrating off of everything. And so energy just exists. It just is. It's how everything is created, everything that we can visually see, you know. And so with these spirits who came through, there were lots of ways that they died that they felt regretful for. Or I'm thinking of, I've had so many. And, you know, I know that they have feelings of regret and remorse when they are too afraid to come forward. So the person will come for a reading and the spirit will kind of be way back here. And I'm like, hi, like, and I'm not saying this out loud, by the way. People are like, how are you communicating with them? Because I don't see you talking to them like in the reading. And I'm like, yeah, because the whole conversation is telepathic. The whole conversation is very fast and very telepathic, which is why also this work is very exhausting because there's a lot of things going on at once here, right? There's a lot of things coming through the body. So this, I can feel sort of a distance, and I can feel the spirit kind of like this, and they're shrinking. And what my role is to say, it's okay. Like, whatever you did, it's okay. Like, come forward. It's okay. It's all right. And so I kind of like coax them to come forward. And then they'll tell me why they feel this shame. And then I'll just start saying it. And again, the person I'm reading for, I have no idea why I'm saying what I'm saying. And then the person I'm reading for usually is just like, whoa, got it. Yep, that makes sense. And then the person will go into why they feel so much remorse, why they feel so much regret. And it's usually tied to a few different things. Again, yes, there are patterns here. There'll be more patterns that emerge, I'm sure, in the next year. So I just want to say that, like, there's no can't really pin it down, right? It's moving and it's fluid, right? But so far, what I've noticed is that some spirits, when they were in human form, have regrets of the things that they did not say and the ways that they wish they'd showed up for others. So what they'll have me do to translate that is they send me back into all these memories. And then I talk about, as you'll see in the readings, I talk about these memories that are coming forward. What I'm seeing in my head is like a little projector, and the vignettes are going and they're kind of fast, and you know, they're not like slow movies. They're like all this information trying to come through fast. And I kind of slow it down as much as I can to get what they're trying to show me. And they'll talk about, I'll see like a picture of them with another person, and they really love this person. They feel it inside their body, but they like don't tell them ever that they love them. Or, and this has happened with all beings, fathers, parents, mothers, children, kin, nibblings, you name it. It's across the board. There's been a lot of different feelings around, I wish I could have said this. I wish I took you to that thing that you wanted to go to. I wish I took your hand and danced with you. I'm sorry I never danced with you. It's all you wanted to do with me, was to dance with me. I'm sorry that, I didn't show up for our child as much as you did. I'm sorry I worked so much. I worked nonstop and totally missed the magic that was you. They get real specific to the person that they're speaking to. And it becomes an incredibly healing experience for the person receiving what's coming through from their loved one. And afterwards, they tell me why. But in the moment, I'm doing my role of relaying the information. I never know why I'm saying it, but that's what's coming through. So that's one way, is being able to say the things we want to say. Say them. Say them. Like I don't just hear these lessons, y'all. When these spirits are in your body and in your nervous system, and they're showing you all the ways that they did it, and you can feel all the most intense feelings you've ever felt all at once, you cannot not be changed. You cannot not be changed. There's no way. There's no way. So I say I love you a lot to everyone, all my loved ones. Right? I try to gift people as much as I can. I try to give my energy as much as I can. I try to show up when I can. Like I heard them loud and clear. I heard them. I really, really take that to heart, that one. Say the things you feel. Say the things you feel and show up. The little things matter. The little things matter. They're not little. Small is all, as Adrienne Marie Brown says, right? Small is all. The second thing that I have seen regret or shame or guilt over even is the way that someone died. So, and again, not all deaths are different, but if someone left in a rushed way, if someone left in a really like shocking way, if someone left and they left a trail of harm or difficulty or just hurt behind them for all their loved ones to unfold, they come through with so much regret and feeling bad and not knowing like how or what to say. And I guess I want to say too is that what they're telling me right now is that this regret, shame, guilt, feelings, emotions, all these things are also part of the learning here. It's part of what we sign up for as spirits. If it was just a perfect existence, we wouldn't learn much from it. It would be pretty boring, and why not just go back to nothingness and like a piece of light, right? So that's not fun. But to evolve and shift the consciousness forward, we need all of us, and we need all of us to go through all of the things. Some of us more excited to go through really hard things. Some of us less excited to go through hard things. Some of us are going to be like, I'm going to be over here for a while. I've done like lifetimes of extreme pain and devastation and violence. I think I'm going to go over here, right? So I want to say that too, is that although there is shame and guilt and regret, in that moment of the reading, this is part of the healing for that person and this person to heal. So there are healings happening within readings even. I always say this, there's things happening that I don't even know that's happening, right? But people will feel after and tell me, I feel like I got a healing after that. I feel like I got closure after that. I feel peace after this. I feel rested. I fully let that go now. I don't blame them. It's fine, I understand. And this understanding or this coming together, this peace is immense, y'all, is immense. So one thing that I've really gotten from this isn't so much about there's a perfect way to die. There's not, unfortunately. It happens in all sorts of horrific and senseless and also unexpected and even expected ways, right? It's never easy, right? It's so many things. But what I've learned from these spirits who do have this regret of how they died or what they were left with was caring for your loved ones now feels really loving, and also feels like, yeah, of course, like I'm gonna do my will. Yeah, of course, I'm gonna do my 5 wishes plan. Yeah, of course, I'm going to uh, write down love letters to people I love ahead of time. Yeah, of course, I'm going to give people, leave a password thing so people can get into my computers and like make sure everything's taken care of logistically. I mean, there are so many things after death that people have to take care of who are literally still grieving their loved ones. It is too much, y'all. It is too much. And because I am trained as a death doula, as a death coach, it is really important to hold both, right? We talk about where's the liminality here of like the earthly things and also the liminal, the in between, right? All of it is important and all of it matters in being able to care for ourselves and also care for our loved ones whom we leave behind or may leave behind. We don't know who's going to go in. We don't know. we don't we don't need to know. It's not our business of knowing. What is ours is how we get to leave it, right? How we get to make people feel. And and yeah, and what we will hold responsibility for in our dying as well. Not everything gets accountability before death or as we're dying. That doesn't always happen, right? And instead of seeing it as a problem or like, oh my gosh, it has to be perfect all the way up until I die, I'm going to invite this energy of it doesn't have to be perfect, right? It can actually, it's always going to be imperfect. Death is a messy process, just like birth. But the invitation is, how can I love this place better than when I left it, right? You could have all sorts of things going on in your life. That's just going to happen. But how can I at least try to love this place and others better than when, right? When I left them, when I left this, when I leave this, all of this. How can I do that? So there is no perfect death, and we can start to weave our legacy of love while we're still here and alive in the little ways that we can. In the little ways that we can. Because what I have found is that when we choose to, let's say, I don't know, do the opposite and create lots of harm and hurt people and be careless and not be introspective and not be inquiring about our own stuff, our own shadows, our own whatever, it has a huge impact on other people. And we don't usually know that, right? But when spirits have crossed over and they've shown me their review, they're like, oh, I understand everything now. Yep. Okay. Whoops. And then there's this process of reintegrating, of healing the parts that feel left open still, that don't feel completed. And mostly these parts are tied to other people who are still living in the earth plane, which makes sense energetically, right? We don't just like sever all our ties and we're like, woo, unless we're like maybe ascended master or someone who's literally put here to do that, to help us all, right? Otherwise, if we still got tendrils out to other people, we still got work to do. And the work don't stop here. The work also happens on the other side, right? Which I've talked about many times. This rehabilitation, it's not even the words are, that's like our words, but this rehabilitation of the spirit, the soul, piecing together, healing, sometimes even traumatic deaths, or huge deaths at once, war, genocide, famine, natural disasters, just people die all at once, right? There's sometimes a recalibration and um, a time of repair for the spirit to come back again, to be okay again. because the harms have been so intense. So there's a lot here. And when we can really hold the magnitude of it all, we can make space for the entire spectrum of everything to come in. There is not just one way. There is not just this euphoric experience waiting for us. Like, yes, we are met with incredible love. No matter what I have found, there is incredible love. Like, no matter what, incredible love. And depending upon what we are coming from, what we have left undone, what we have avoided, what we don't want to go into, we going right into there on the other side. We going right in, which is where you hear, people have been like, I've heard really intense stories about near death and people going into really intense realms. Yes, but it's for a purpose, right? It's for a purpose. And what I have found is that in that intense realm, right on the periphery, are angels, guardians, guides, loved ones being like, you got this, but we can't intervene right now. Like, you've got to work through this part. And once you break through and finally surrender to it, they just swaddle you up and you're out of that realm. You're out of that energy. And that might be really hard for y'all to hear. Many cultures accept this. I can't remember the culture. I'll have to look this up. It's escaping my brain right now, but there's a culture that has the Bardos. The Bardos are like these different dimensions, different gates of when you die, and then they help the person who's dying through each Bardo to get to liberation, to freedom, to a good place, whatever that is. I don't know, good place, whatever that is for you, I guess. And it's really a power. If you read the Bardos, you're gonna it's intense. And at the time, which was like 6 years ago, I think that I learned about it, I thought, I don't know, like, yes, and maybe there's other things. What I have seen is very similar to the Bardos in the form of dimensions, in the form of realms, and in the form of where the person was at, what they left undone, what they just kind of were loose ties, right? Like, those loose ties have to be accounted for. But it's nothing to fear. Like, in some ways you've already faced it. You've already stepped into it, which is maybe why you fear it the most, because you know what's on the other side of it, right? Which is actually the opposite of what you think is going to be on the other side of it, which is actually the biggest amount of liberation, freedom, expansion, and infinite energy than you can even imagine, right? So yeah, I hope I hope that inspires you. And I hope that you don't have fear around where you go when you die. We're all on different journeys. We're all going to go to different places. I have not met a hell place. I have met hellish realms, yes, which mostly consisted of, the only ones that I've seen were mostly, how do I translate this? Be almost like, okay, it's almost like being in a recurring nightmare. But the nightmare is of all the things you fear but don't want to face, or all the ways that you don't want to go into the pain, but then you have to go into the pain. Or all the ways that you've hurt people that you don't want to see, but then you have to go and see. So it feels very intense. Obviously, it's meant to, but it's like going through it then disarms the terror around it, right? Like, the more that we push against, which is very similar to this realm, just saying, the more that we push against it, the more intense we're going to feel it, and the more like, ow, 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 this is horrible. But the more that we're like, okay, this is so scary, I'm going to go anyways. It's like on the other side, it just disarms it, and you're somewhere else. You're out of that realm. The analogy that they're giving me right now is like, I've gotten this analogy over the years, and it's been so helpful. But when okay, so like the other side is a lot like, and these realms are a lot like when you are watching a terrible, scary movie, right? Terribly scary. And you're totally freaked out. And then afterwards, the movie ends, you close your computer, and then you cannot stop thinking about the movie, right? You can't stop with the images and the sounds and the violence, or I don't even know what's in. I can't watch horror movies because they truly freak me out. And I love thrillers because they don't freak me out, but horror movies are just, it's interesting. The energy is like, so that energy then is still in your room, right? It's still in your house. That energy grows the more that you feed it. So what happens next? I heard someone at the door. I heard someone at the window. I think someone's trying to break in. Oh my gosh, what's that? And you're like all jumpy, right? Your fight or flight is all activated. So the more that you think about it, again, the more that wants to take you right back to that movie, right back to the energy, right back to that scene, we'll call it, right? The scene that's playing out. So that happens in the same way here in the physical. When we don't want to go to that place, that place holds so much power and will try to bring us there every time, right? And it's the same with the other side. One time while I was navigating the other side in my own journeys, not channeling for anyone, just going on my own astral journeys, a guide of mine said, you have to deeply be aware of your emotions. Your emotions are actually powers and energies. And you have to know what is illusion. You have to know what is not real. You have to know what are my wounds, what are my trauma, what are someone else's things. You have to know this so well, and to navigate these different dimensions and realms. And you have to point and direct your energy. And I don't mean physically. What they showed me was not physically, it was like just consciously. I was like, okay, how do I do that? And they were like, well, it's time to fly. And I was like, great, I've always wanted to fly. And they were like, okay, great. Now think of flying, and I was like, well, this isn't working. I'm not flying, and they're all flying, getting off the it wasn't even on the ground. It was like in outer space in this huge temple floating in space with big columns. It was pretty cool. But I was like, I want to get to the ceiling. Like, this is what the heck. And then I remembered, like, oh, there's this pink song, this vibration, I think it was pink, that sends me into this place where I feel like I could fly. Because the vibration, the energy, and all of a sudden my whole body filled up and I was floating on the ceiling and I was dancing and I was flying and they were all with me. And then as soon as I had a fear thought, one fear thought was like, I don't even remember what the thought was. It was just a fear thought that like came in, whoosh, I fell to the floor. And I got right to the floor and then held my energy just enough. And then I was like, whoa, focus, focus, focus. Like, it's okay. There's nothing to fear. There's nothing to fear. And then I remembered that song, that energy, and like turned the volume up in my body. And I was back up on the ceiling again. And my guide said, that's exactly what it is to master your energy and to know where you're going to point it and not get stuck anywhere. Right. And this, I don't know. I've never had a spirit who was stuck somewhere. I've had spirits who were, again, thinking about the shame and the guilt and the regret, they were stuck in the emotions. They were stuck in the ties of how they harmed someone who was still alive. And that cord then is very strong, very alive, right? And they couldn't get out of it because what would be required maybe would be what I've seen is like full accountability. Just had a giant spirit go by. Like, who's here? Full accountability, full fully letting love into them. There many things, right, would be sort of the way to uh, allow that energy to be transmuted and just shift and change into something else, and would allow them to feel like they aren't stuck. So I find this fascinating, right? And we can practice this here. And some of us already do. If you do mindfulness practice or stillness or meditation or yoga or walking or being in nature or whatever your mode is, whether it's still or moving within the stillness, that is a way of really directing the energy. And this is not about controlling the energy so much as moving the energy, right? If we feel something terrifying, we can let that energy move through us and then come back to right here, right now, right? And then redirect the energy. So, and also knowing our emotions and having deep awareness of the emotionality and the impact that we can have on others and ourselves and the planet and animals and plants is huge. That's also part of that, right? That there is no separation. There is no, there is no way that we could ever not be connected to this emotional collective and our own individual collective, right? It all ripples out to each other. It's all felt by all of us and all beings here on Earth. So, yeah, I think that's a lot. That's a lot for y'all to digest, and I'm just getting started. So, I feel like to be able to just take time and notice the paradox, um, notice the ways that you might want death to be a certain way, and what's behind that for you. You know, why is that? And being compassionate, being tender with yourself in that discovery, in that journaling or processing or whatever it is. um, and what other possibilities in death there might be, you know. um, and maybe some things you want to say to someone, whether they're hard conversations. Those have come through in readings. Never said that hard thing, and I should have. Because that's another thing. Secrets have come out from people in readings that were so difficult for me to bring through. So difficult. If that spirit hadn't pushed me, I probably wouldn't have, right? Many spirits have pushed me to say the secrets that they held that they couldn't say when they were alive. And again, right, that's a strong holding of something energy. A strong, right? And so the releasing of those things that need to be said might be something that comes up too this week for you. But wherever you're at, just having grace with yourself, grace with your process and your own death inquiry. And if you want to go deeper into all this and go into some practice around it, we have the death storying workshop, Storying Your Death. And it's going to be just that, a time of reflection, a time of ritual, a time of dropping in together and being able to collectively bring that energy of death into the space and also personalize it for you, what your own story around death will be. What do you want it to be? And we'll be doing a lot of guided visualizations, traveling, and channelings around that expression of your own death story. This is a powerful practice. It has a way of making what's really important clear, and also getting to the heart of what matters in your life right now. And also where you feel like you may not be living the most right now, and allowing grief around that. So If you want to join us, we have a few spots left. I'll put the link down below, but it's at my website, thesovereignspiritmedium.com, and also on my Instagram at thesovereignspiritmedium at the link in my bio. We filling up, y'all. Come on board. I'm grateful to have you, and to those who already signed up, I can't wait. We're about to get into it. It is timely with this energy right now as we move into the wintering time and as the collective energy increases over the next few months. It's going to be a challenge, y'all, but it's going to be good change. And there's also going to be lots of grief to be had. So my hope is that this workshop be a place of utilizing this energy, working with it instead of against it, and getting really clear on what it means in this brief time you have here on this earth. This brief time, what you want to do with it. I love you all so much. Have a beautiful day, and I'll see you on the other side.